John.
When you're looking at this optimization, and I think all individuals know that regardless of where they're at, they could be doing better in many aspects, and meditation can play a huge role in that. What does that actually look like then? Could you get into maybe some more concrete things for it? Because I know our audience is always looking for ways to perform better, to practice these sorts of things. How do you structure that for people?
The first thing that comes to mind is the third law of thermodynamics that states that as de-excitation occurs, we see greater levels of order in a system. And as we see greater levels of excitation in a system, we see greater levels of disorder and chaos and atrophy. And so what we've got to do is we've got to come from a very peaceful place when it comes to functioning. And what tends to happen for most people is that they're hyper-stimulated, hyper-thinking, hyper-nervous system. And that's generally how our society is driven, which is why we're all addicted, not me, but a lot of people are addicted to coffee and stimulants, because we're looking to continuously exacerbate a hyper-stimulated state. But that doesn't augur well for brain functionality, doesn't augur well for health and wellness. And health and wellness and brain functionality actually optimizes when we're in a deep state of restfulness. And this is what we've found with flow states as well. So flow states come from pushing harder and struggling more, but from compartmentalizing time, from staying focused, from de-exciting the mind, clearing the clutter in the mind and clearing the clutter in our day. So what it would look like is that we have greater use of our brain, we have greater impact with the things that we're focusing on, greater creativity, greater adaptive capacity, greater potential as far as thinking outside the box and thinking more progressively with our business and our activities.
Yeah, and that's a fascinating thing. It reminds me of a quote that I ran into somewhere. I'm going to butcher it, but the essence of it is essentially when you don't think that you need to meditate, that's exactly when you should meditate, right? And we have that feeling that we can't stop. You just got to go. And at least me personally, all of my experiences within the flow state have happened from that completely relaxed. I mean, whether that's on the field or off the field, completely relaxed, completely chill. Time slows down for you, and all of a sudden, decisions that you can make are just, they come very naturally. Just before we get off this performance aspect of things, just since we're hitting all the buzzwords, we've hit mindfulness and meditation and stuff. Morning routines are another lovely thing. Do you recommend anything for people to start their days, or is there a way to do that?
Yeah, the analogy I like to use for my students is when we're sort of inspiring them to take a morning routine, particularly including meditation in that, is if you think about a tree, before a tree grows up, what it does is it grows down first. And the reason it grows down is for two reasons. One is it gets nutrients, and secondly, it gets stability. And so what most of us do when we wake up is we look at the outside world. We go to our emails, we go to our social media, we go to our meetings, we go to our work, we go to our family, we go to the news. But if we can spend some time to lay the foundation of your day on health and wellness and a deep state of mind, then the rest of the day becomes built on that. And the rest of the day flows from that. So I really emphasize the importance of your morning routine. So for me, what I generally try to do is I like to do some form of movement first and foremost when I wake up. Firstly, obviously replenish with lots of hydrating, with lots of fluids, and then going into some form of physical activity. So I like to do a gym workout or a surf or a swim or something like that, something quite physical. And then I like to do some breath work, do some journaling, do some meditation. I mean, my morning routine can go for 4 hours if I really wanted to extend it, but to crunch it down if I need to, I can get most of that in sort of an hour to an hour and a half. But starting that day with a good solid hour of attending to yourself and your well-being and letting your day grow from that space, I think is really going to change the nature of your day as you move on through the day.
Is there a pre-sleep routine that you give your students?
Yeah, I think morning and evening is the top and tail of the day is such an important part of it. I mean, I think all day, every day, we want to be very mindful about the way we're doing things. There's definitely a way to close out the day. I've got a success planner that I give to my coaching clients, and people can buy it off my website. It's a daily journal book that's clearly mapped out for you. So there's a morning routine, which is mapping out your day, mapping out your 3-year goal, your 5-year goal. What are your key attributes? So really recoding the mind on a daily basis using the success planner. And then there's an end of day routine, which is 7 checkpoints. Did you drink 2 liters of water today? Did you stretch today? Did you exercise today? Did you read a book today? Did you meditate today? So it's a really cool checklist. And then we finish that journal off with 5 things that you're grateful for that day. So it's a really beautiful start and end to the day using the success planner. But What I tend to find at the end of the day are really great close. I like to stretch a little bit just to unwind any tightness in the body, particularly if I've been sitting in a chair a lot. I like to do some breath work, usually just some gentle, very gentle pranayama or something to quieten the nervous system. Nothing too rigorous like a Wim Hof, certainly nothing like that. And then I like to do a really gentle, simple meditation just to, again, zero in my thoughts onto a single point and calm the mind and the nervous system, which is a great prelude. Sometimes I read a book, and I like to finish with some gratitude as well. I think there's something really powerful about finishing your day in positive territory. And anyone, no matter where we are, will always be able to find something that we're grateful for. And I think if you can sort of go through, 3, 4, 5 things that you feel grateful for that day, leaves the mind of this beautiful little uplift, little uptick at the end of the day. And I think that augurs well for sleep and augurs well for the next day as well.
Everything in our society is now fast, right? 3 days to meditate to solve your life. I just recently we have another channel which is based on language learning, and we had to call it the 7-day language challenge, right? And throughout the course of the videos, we had to remind everybody, you're not going to learn a language in 7 days. This is what everyone has to be selling, and we're all about fast, 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 go, go, go. And so my question is, how long before I see these results? If I'm watching this now, I've bought into what Tom is saying. How long before I start to see, like you said, those roots being planted and something coming up out of the ground before I can be happy about it?
I think partly when it comes to meditation anyway, it really depends on the technique that you're using, because there's so many different meditation styles out there. You've got gratitude, you've got visualizations, you've got chakra clearing, you've got bedtime stories by Matthew McConaughey on 𝗪𝗪𝗛. What I tend to practice myself and where I see the best results quite quickly is using a deep transcending style of meditation. I call it Vedic meditation or transcendental meditation, primordial sound technique, are these types of styles where you get a mantra or a sound to repeat inside your head. And that mantra does a lot of the heavy lifting for you. It takes the mind deeper and deeper into those more profound, quieter states of mind. When we're just thinking or trying to empty the mind or focusing on the breath, they're useful meditations and can definitely have a role in our day. But I find it just didn't get me deep enough. And so I found, for me personally, particularly when we combine it with other modalities like doing your exercise, doing your breath work, doing your meditation, doing your journaling, then there's a sort of multiplying effect of that. And you'll tend to find within a week, coming back to quite a quick turnaround, within 7 days, you're going to start to significantly notice differences. I find most of my students in the first week will start noticing differences with their life when they start meditating.
Yeah, that's not a long time at all. Obviously, it seems like it. And I know just from working over years in order to make myself a lifelong now meditator, the struggle is real when you first sit down, because those, to put the phone down, to put it, whatever is going on, to put thoughts away for a second is a very big struggle. But then when you start to turn and have some momentum, when you can get that space of breath for your mind and just to kind of calm, it's otherworldly. And it really does. There's no real limit to it. I seem to find it just keeps growing and growing and growing. It just keeps giving and giving and giving. Right. You mentioned breath work. We've had James Nestor on. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the name. He wrote the book Breath. What do you utilize there? And what are your thoughts on breath work just in general?
Yeah, I use different modalities of breath work. On our retreats, we use a practice called pranayama, which is an alternate breathing between the two nostrils. And that's a really powerful balancing practice where you breathe between one side and then the other side and one side and the other side. And that's a really good prelude to your meditation. It calms the mind, calms the nervous system, and prepares the body for deep meditation, but also balances the breathing within the body, the two left and right hemispheres of the body. So I do that particularly on retreats, quite often perform a meditation, but I do like to do the Wim Hof, a very simple, straightforward 30 deep breaths in and out, and then a long out hold at the end of the 30 breaths. Most people will probably be aware of Wim Hof's method now, and you can find it on YouTube. But I find that gives me certainly a really nice expansive use of my lungs. I really find that oxygenation of the body is really calming over the long term. I love the out breath hold, the stillness that happens in that, and the kind of, there's like a little mini DMT hit that happens. So I kind of like sort of getting off on that a little bit. It's quite cool.
Yeah, I agree. I'm a fan of breathwork in general. And there's some fascinating stuff with pranayama that I didn't even know. I've run into some studies citing that there's been at least a decent amount of benefit to people who have high blood pressure and the use of alternate nose breathing, obviously through a consistent practice, but I think the subjects, and there've been several tests on this, though, they were between 30 and 45 days, and they were showing, clear signs when some of them were still on medication and stuff like this as well. But it's fascinating to see that you can alter your entire, body chemistry by sitting and breathing for, I don't think they did it for more than 15 minutes, and when you calculate all the time wasted by whatever else we do with, whether it's our thoughts, our phone, or jobs, or worries, whatever, it's such a little input. And that's what I'm just blown away by this. And, we've had, fascinating, unbelievable people like yourself come on, and, you guys will say these things. And sometimes now when I'm starting to collect so much data now over the years, it's just kind of wondering what we as a society are doing, because it's like now it seems like we kind of know, but we just like, potentially a person who's smoking understands that it's killing them. We know we should be keeping some form of mindfulness, but we're just not doing it.